So as I said in the last lecture, we'll start with the new topic, that is chapter number 6, the last chapter related to networking. Now in this chapter we need to study basically what is network, what are the types of networks, then the types of servers, then what is the topology, what is the different types of topology exist and their comparison of topology. Then there are different network standards, then especially Ethernet standards. There are three important Ethernet standards, that is 802 point standards. Then afterwards we are going to study wireless standards, then networking components, and then most important, that is TCP IP protocol, that is TCP IP model and OSI model. And these are the topics that is included into the networking. And what, as I told you, I'm also going to cover certain practicals and online practicals I'm going to do. For this, I'm just waiting for one camera for the department. Once I got the camera, I'll put this camera on one of the machines on which I'm going to take a practicals, and simultaneously I will go on demonstrating it. So that is my plan, so that whatever the 12 practicals we have, at least we can conduct the 10 practicals of 2 hours duration each. But all this plan I have postponed after Diwali vacation, so that before Diwali I'll try to finish up this last chapter, which may require 7 to 8 lectures. So let's start with this particular first one. What is network? So you already know what is network. If there are more than two or more computers are connected to each other, then we say that the network is formed. Basically, we form a network for important applications, or by forming a network you can share the resources such as data, printer or internet connections, or some of the application, that is software, or some of the combinations of these. Even you can share the hardware resources also. So there are different advantages of having a network. So basically, as I said, network is a, you can form a network when more than two computers are connected to each other. That we call as a basic definition of a network. So internet is also called as a network of networks. If you say define what is internet we normally say it is a network of networks. So this is another way that we can define computer networks. Connects to our more autonomous computers, independent computers, and their computers can be geographically located anywhere. That means any computer can be anywhere in the globe, and now it is possible to connect that. May not be physically connected. It can be physically connected, or it will be mostly it will be logically connected. But anyway, they are able to communicate with each other. Then we can say that the network is formed between these two computers. Now we'll go for what are the types of networks. So networks concept is very much introduced when Windows NT is introduced. At that time, same time, their novel software operating system. So even earlier, Linux operating system or Unix operating system. These are the 4 or 5 operating system which are also network-based operating system. That means these to connect the computers and administer all these computers either independently or now based on this, the computers networks are normally classified in two types. One is called as a peer-to-peer network, another is called as a client server network. So let's see what is peer-to-peer network. In this diagram you will find that the computers are connected to each other. That means one computer is connected to on left hand side, always on right hand side. So if you have all computers connected to each other in such a fashion, it is called as a peer-to-peer network. So what is important about peer-to-peer network is that there is no dedicated server. Hence, there is no hierarchy among the computers. When there is no hierarchy, that means no high level computers, middle level or low level, or maybe powerful computers or less powerful computers. There is no distinction between this. In other words, we can say all the computers are equal. Hence, every computer is called as a peer computers. Then each computer functions both as a client and server. So there is no concept of client and server as such. All computers are equal level. There is no administrator responsible for the entire network. The user at each computer determines what data on that computer is shared on the network. So user actually shares this. In other words, peer-to-peer network is a network where all the computers are connected to each other. There is no superior, there is no inferior. All are at equal levels, and this is called as a peer-to-peer computer network. Then there are certain advantages or where you can go for uh, connecting a computer in peer-to-peer network. So there are certain conditions or choices where we should prefer this. The reasons for this, if there are 10 users or fewer users, you can go for peer-to-peer network. You can, if you wish to share certain resources such as files, printers, or special without using any specialized server, then you can go for peer-to-peer. Security, if it is not an issue, then you can definitely go for peer-to-peer computers. The organization will experience only limited growth within the foreseeable future. That means if you have got certain limited applications and you are not ambitious about expanding your network or whatever the present network, if that suffices your requirements, you don't need to go for any other types of network, then probably peer-to-peer network is the best choice. Then next type of architecture you say or a type of networks you can say this is a client server model or client server architecture. So here in this case you'll find there is a mostly very advanced or well with a better configuration. Computer is at the center. The central computer is also called as the server because it serves many things to a required client. So all these computers which are connected, these are called as a client computers, or you can say these are the workstation computers. So client and workstation it can be interchangeably used, and this can communicate with centralized server. So this type of architecture is called the client server architecture. So here mostly where it is used. So at center you can have a centralized operating system as well as you can have a centralized software. Then whatever the queries are from these queries are can be processed over here. So basically here you will find a large RAM will be there, powerful servers could be there, and it will be connected with a relatively good network connectivity with the clients. Then if you have got such type of operation, especially distributed operating system, distributed type of operation, that means such things like data entry operations or just to, sir, if you want to find any problem, just like you take a best example is like a railway reservation. So if you wanted to see anything, you can query from your machine, and that query goes to your server. Server actually interprets it, execute it, and whatever the data, that data is again sent to your client side. And that means on this client side, you don't need any powerful computers, powerful hardware resources at the client end. Even if you have a bare minimum monitor, keyboard, if you are doing some local processing, then in that case you also need some lower end processor, some small RAM. Even that local machine or a desktop machine or a client and workstation with network, you can pass your queries or you can request for anything from the server and it will serve to your server. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, anyway, there was one query from department. Okay, I'll continue with this. Now let's go for this server. What is client server? As I said, it is a dedicated server. Is the one that function only as a server, and it is not used as a client or workstation. So this is basically dedicated for server only. That is server type of server level operations are done. What are the server level operations that we'll see later on? Servers are dedicated as the word dedicated because they are not themselves client. They are optimized to service requests from the network clients quickly. That means if any request is there from a client, they are ready to accept that request, interpret that request, process that request, and send the requested output or data to the client terminals. They ensure the security of the files and directories. Server-based networks have become the standard model for networking. You'll find that almost 99.9% of the network today are based on client-server architecture. Then there are certain specialized servers like file and print services. If you really want to store files and print a lot of work you wanted to do, then you can install one print server or file print server where it will store the file and printing operations will do. For that, if you then in that case, the major purpose of print server is that you don't require to utilize the very high end resources, because high end resources we require for computing, not for printing. So even if you have a small printer, that will serve as a print server, and it will can be connected to multiple printers, and operation of printing is going on once the output file is given to them. So this is the file and print server type application. Another is applications and installed applications on the server side, and then whatever the data or input that will be taken, even client can with by certain, I'll say, shortcuts. That application will be actually loaded from the server, and that it will start taking the data or it will processing the request. With application server, the database stays on the server and only the results of the request are downloaded to the computer making the request. In fact, as I said, client application running locally access the data on the application server. That means any queries you have, as I said, for railway reservation, or maybe if you want to find how many employees in a database, where what is the birth date of employees with born in November, you can just find this particular query. You just pass on query to the server and it will return with the answer. This is the way all client server applications run. Then there can be a mail servers exclusively dedicated for mail like applications, and which will be taken care of all the mails. It will distribute the mails, or even you can have a Outlook installed on it and it will serve to all the users. Like mail servers, now another server is the fax servers, but nowadays mails and faxing becomes too easy, so that nowadays you don't require such a service as such. Then communication servers, so here it will handle all the email messages between the services of our networks as well as other networks, mainframe computers, remote users who dial on the servers or modems or telephone lines. That means all these can be controlled, all communication servers. That means like what we get the email today. So to get the emails, that what we use certain what I'll say, whenever you are going for email, that is, we are using certain email services like what you say, Gmail or Ymail or any Reddit mail. These are nothing but basically these are communication servers, and they actually it takes care of everything about your managing the emails of all the users. Then most importantly, there is a directory services servers. These are also called as domain servers. Especially that whenever you connect the computers, there is a in Windows concept, or in networking or in internet, there is a concept of domain. Once you are in that particular domain, then all the computers, that all hierarchical computers can be under that particular domain. Once you are working in a domain, then it is very easier to authenticate and give the rollers or use roles to the different users. You can give the logins and passwords, and the security and overall authentication becomes very simpler if you use the concept of domain. So a domain concept, I'll explain you later on when we'll come for TCP/IP protocols. At that time, I'll just touch to the concept of domains and how you register the different websites by using the domain, and how you by the name, how you actually identify the domain, just like what we say gpa.org.in. This is nothing but our website URL address, but how this is the how the domains are formed into it, and under this how is the different users work under this website. Then next is client server advantage. What are the advantages of client server systems? Although client server, it is very complex to install, configure, and manage. A server-based network has many advantages over the simple peer-to-peer network. The major advantages are sharing of resources. Any resources, that mean hardware or software resources, can be shared. You can give the access to files and printers. Maintenance and performance will be very good. At the same time, you can implement the security for the user. Server-based data sharing is possible. Mostly it is centrally administered and controlled because shared resources are centrally located. They are either easy to find and support those resources on individual computers. Then there are different types of securities available. That is user level security, hardware level, software, application level. Different level security authentications can be managed by using client server systems. Then security is often a primary reason for choosing a server-based approach to networking. In a server-based environment, one administrator who sets up the policy and applies to the every user on the network can manage the security. So this becomes very simple. That is what role-based approach. You can have a one user, you can assign certain role to that user, then what that is configured for that particular user. If you create one user or thousands of users, that policy is applicable to thousands of users, and they will have some those restricted rights. So this uh, setup or instead of configuring complex configuration, this becomes a very simple to configure the configure the system and implement the role-based security in the system. Then another important application is here the backup, because backup is the more important. Whatever the work you do, if something goes hardware or software or something crash out, then you need to have that particular data, which is very important. Then to back up this particular data, you can do the manually, or it is also possible automatically. Most of the times, all the server backups are done automatically. In fact, these are scheduled. This may be scheduled after some hours, or or every day, or during every night, or maybe weekly, fortnightly, or maybe monthly. This is based on your sensitivity of a data. You can schedule your backup, and this is automatically done. There are lots of backup servers are available. Then another is that when you are backing up the data, it is not only backup, but there is also you can also go for, if there is, let us say, if now normally we use the disaster management services. So this is normally called as an, if you wanted to have a one uh, disaster recovery server. Normally it is used in most of the application, in most of the organization. And that disaster, even if something goes wrong with anything, like there can be certain climatic conditions, like something like earthquake, or what we call the flooding situation, or a fire, or like that. This is natural calamities. And if you want to overcome these particular natural calamities, what is especially done in the bigger organization, their servers are kept about 200 to 500 kilometers away from this, and they are automatically backing up their day-to-day transactions. Something goes bad in one site, data can be immediately accessed and restored, or the operation will go on without any interruption because of this disaster recovery service. Of course, you have to there is a cost for it, but it is relatively if you see the applications of this, just like as I have worked in MSBT, so I know that I have put my server in Bangalore for some of days, and now I have that server is shifted to Pune level. That means here, if something goes wrong at MSBT level, so you can directly, if even a server entirely crash out within I'll say 5 minutes of this, immediately everything can be restored and can be started from another location. So that is called as a backup and disaster recovery servers. Then another advantage is you can have a number of users. Like peer to peer, you cannot have 10, 15 users. You can add hundred thousands of users. Then most importantly, why we go for a client server? Because of resources sharing. Even you can hardware wise, you can share the resources. Just like if you have powerful printer, You can connect to this, and all the machines can be connected to this particular printer. For that matter, if you have a CD-ROM or any good devices you have, and if you want to share these resources, it is possible that you can share any number of resources, and that is the really big advantage of using client server technology. You can also share the resources as hardware computing resources, these printers. You can just share the software resources like application softwares. You can also share the data in the form of file databases, or you can have a searching capability, that is information sharing is possible. You can have a communication through email or message broadcast. You can have a remote computing, which is nowadays become more popular. Even if you have got any problems nowadays, user can directly give the remote, and the expert from sitting remotely, he can directly work with your, you can see the problems, and you can, most of the times 90% times he can sort out with the problems, or at least you'll come to know what is the problem with the machine and what counteraction is to be done. Or even people are now problem solving, or any problem that is there, it is taken care by remote computing, that is by taking a remote desk. So probably you might have seen, if you see the any desk, this is a very good utility that is being used for remote computing. So this is all about what I explain you is the uh, types of networks, basically peer-to-peer network, and another is client server network. Client server is most popular, and it is used almost, I'll say 99.9% times. Client server architecture is preferred because of its many advantages. Now when it comes to configuring the network, the network can also be categorized as LAN, MAN, and WAN. When you say LAN, we call that this is local area network. So this is relatively a very small network, catering to either room, the network within a room, or within a building, or within a campus. That we normally call this as a local area network. So campus-wide networking is there, then it is normally preferred as this is a local area network. Then if a network is somewhat bigger than a campus, if it is about a city or any network that is catering the services to entire city, then that will be called as a MAN, abbreviated as metropolitan. So long form is metropolitan area network, that is MAN network. And if you wanted to communicate across the globe, geographically across the countries, then the best type of network that is available, it is called as a WAN, popularly called as wide area network, which is spanning across the countries, or you may say across the globe, anywhere in the world. So these are the three types of networks: local area networks, MAN and WAN. Basically within 1 kilometer, we call say this a local area network. If a network is ranging from 1 to 10, 20 kilometers, then we may say it is a MAN network. And if it's exceeding about 20 to 50 kilometers, then normally we will always say this is an wide area network. Of course, there are certain different mechanisms to connect the computers, and having the communication between the two computers by using entirely different technologies by using these types of networks. Let's talk about now the next topic, that is network topology. When I say network topology, it defines the way in which computer, printers, and other devices are connected. Obviously, all the computers you need to connect either physically or logically, either wireless or through wired. Then how cables are used to connect the computers? Not only connect the computers, but how these computers are arranged logically, or what is the layout of those computers, and how wires and devices are used, and more importantly, how this path for data transmission use. Accordingly, these are called as the different topologies are used. And as the name suggests, here you can have, here 5 topologies are shown. That is bus topology, ring topology, star topology, extended star topology, or mesh topology. So there can be many versions of it. That we'll see what are the, and we'll go one by one. What is so? Hope now you understood what is the network topology. That is the way, this is geometrical arrangement of a computers, or the way the layout of a computers, or the how computers are connected to each other. That is called as a topology of a topology. Let's say now what are, there are certain advantages, these are advantages, and so the computers can be connected to each other by different ways, and accordingly it will be called as a different topology network. So let's start. Here in this network topology, basically there are two topologies. One is applicable to LAN topology within a 1 kilometer, how you can connect the computers, or there can be WAN topology if a distance exceeds about 10 kilometers. More than this, then your connection, the way you connect the two computers and the devices you use to connect these entirely these devices as well as the data transmission techniques, which entirely changes. Then in LAN topology, you can connect this. This is the geometric arrangement of components that make up the LAN. That means it can be physical connection or there can be a logical connection. Describe the possible connection between the pair of networks endpoints that and how these computers logically communicate to each other. Then as LAN topologies, we said basically this is the four major topologies: bus, star, ring, and mesh topology. So one by one we'll study. So see, this is the first one is bus topology. If you see this particular bus topology, you may say this is something like a one wire is there, continuous wire. One wire is going. This is like concept is very similar to like a bus. When you are going from Aurangabad to Jalna, or maybe from Aurangabad to Nagar, at that time you will find there are different stoppages are there. So maybe here, like if you come to say Walunj, or you can come to what I'll say uh, Nevasa, or somewhere in Goregaon, or something like industrial area, and then finally at Ahmednagar. So these are the different stops you can have. So bus here, they like just data text over here. If it is there, if this is related to one, the person will get down there. If another person wish to go from this to another, then again it will come into the bus and go ahead. So that is the name is given on. This is very similar to what we have a bus concept. People actually come into the bus, get down, again come and go. These people are taking from one place to another place. Now instead of people, we are talking in terms of data. That is how is data is transmitted from one place to another. But there is a common path, and that is why we'll say this is a bus topology, which has got one at both the end there is a terminator, basically because the data goes in the form of packets, and in that data if it is not there, if it is not for any machine, that is again, if there is no balloon at the end, it is normally a 50 ohm connector at the extreme end, and that data again comes back. So this is the way. If you see bus topology, you must understand that there is a one single line, and across this line there will be different points, and the computers will be connected across the one line. That means one common wire will be there. This wire will be terminated over here. From this wire again the next computer will be connected. Then again after this termination, second wire will be connected. And this is ugly the bus topology. It is again I would say 20 years back topology, where you have some thin net coaxial cables normally were to used, and BNC socket, that is your socket used for connecting your CRO. These type sockets and network cards were there, and they were used to connect this per topology. Now star topology has made almost these two topologies obsolete. This is the bus topology. See, there is another way of showing the same bus topology. That is, there is a one common wire, and common wire different computers are connected and they are communicating with each other. So all network nodes are interconnected peer to peer using a single open-ended cable. That means there is this very simple network. You can form a peer-to-peer network, which is a single open-ended cable. Both ends of the cable must be terminated with the terminating register to prevent the signal bounce. Otherwise, there will be a problem. So here, these are network. If the no signal is for any computers is not picked up, then this is automatically absorbed by the terminator, and it will not be coming into the path again. So if you see some advantages, it is very easy to implement and extend. Well suited for temporary networks. That is, if you just wanted to connect to computers and share the data, you can just have a one cable, you can connect to computers and you form a peer networks, and communication is possible between the two computers. It is the cheapest topology to implement because less wire is required, but it has got a lot of disadvantage. Administrator and troubleshoot is very tough. It has got a limited cable length, limited number of stations you can add, because if you add more number of stations, more problems will start, and here data transmission path and etc. that will start. And if one terminal goes down, the one workstation goes down, automatically entire network will come down. That means there is no redundancy. If there is a cable break or if something goes wrong with one computer, everything will come to standstill. Then another maintenance cost will be very high in the longer run, and performance degradations is possible. There will be performance degradation as additional computers are added, because if number of computers are increased more than 10, then this is going to create the problems to everyone. So here this is not suitable for large number of computers. Then another most popular network was the ring topology network. As you can see, all the computers are connected in ring. When you say this ring, so obviously, if I consider this as a computer, at left hand there will be another computer, and just at right hand will be another computer. That means there will be two neighboring computers just immediately to this particular computer, and this way they are forming what is called as a ring. Then how this is they are communicating with each other, it is something like it's very similar to a concept of what is called as a token. Probably you are so this is very token passing concept is very similar to what we play a game, something like throwing a pillows. Now pillow will be working as a token, so whoever has a token, he is in charge of this, and he has got the entire channel is available for him to transmit the data. Those who possess the token, he can transmit the data, and once this data is transmitted, then actually every computer checks whether that transmitted data is for him. If it is pertinent to him only, then he will accept the data. If it is not addressed to him, then it will pass out this on a channel for another data. This is the way of communication in between takes place. And as the computers are connected in a logically in a ring fashion or circular fashion, that is why it is called as a ring topology. It is started out as simple peer-to-peer LAN topology. Each network workstation has two connections, as I said, just images to the nearest neighbors uh, of this. Then here there will be a data was transmitted unidirectionally around the ring. Sending and receiving of data takes place with the help of token. As I said, the data will be unidirectional data. Token contains the piece of information which along with data is sent by the source computer. This token then passes to the next node, which checks if the signal is intended to it. If yes, it receives it, passes the empty to the end, passes empty to into the network. Otherwise, passes take token along with the data to the next node. This is the way how this token is interpreted by each individual client machines. Not client machine, but I'll say individual machines. Then advantages of ring topology, that this is certainly better, it is more organized, certainly better than bus topology. No need for network server to control the connectivity between workstation, because everyone handles its own communication. There is no master or slave, there is no administrator in the network as such. Additional components do not affect the performance of the network. You can freely add this, but ultimately, if a number can increases, there will be certain problem. Each computer has equal access to the resources. That is what we can say ring topology perfectly works lies in a democratic environment. All are equal. Also, everything is shared, everything is available to everyone. So when everything is available to everyone, without the administrator, it is very difficult, and there can be very conflicting requirements can be there, and that has to be handled. Of course, there are certain operating system which works with this particular concepts. That is called as a ring uh, token concept or a ring. Of course, for that to work on that, you need to have a certain network standard, and there are certain 802.5, that is a token ring standards are there, which actually takes care of managing all these machines. Similarly, there are disadvantages. Obviously, this is a very slow compared with the star topology, which you are going to see the next. If one workstation or port goes down, the entire network will be affected. That is no redundancy in this. Network is highly dependent on wire which connects different components. So here it is entirely dependent upon the wire. So here this is again a very sensitive and very prone to error or failures in the network. Then we'll come to the best network that is exist available, or anybody, if you go are connecting to the network, mostly people always go for star topology. So if you see the star topology, what is important here, star topology, you will have a centralized, it can be hub, it can be switch, or even it can be router. Out of these three active devices, you can active or passive devices. Through these devices, you can connect all the computers directly to each other. In other words, there will be direct cable will be laid between connecting to each computers from this centralized device, that is hub, or in this is one way arrangement. This is another way of this, you can see toward this. So this is can be switch, router, or hub. You can connect through RJ45. These cat cables will be there, and through these cat cables all these machines will be connected. And that is the this type of topology is star topology. And again I'll say in the word, almost for individual LAN, almost 100% LANs are connected with the star topology. Almost 100%. If you are using a building or in our computer lab or anywhere, if you see the best option, best possible option to connect all the computers in a topology called as a star topology. So in other words, here the network devices that radiate out from the common point. That means connections are radiating out just like a star, what you say sun or a star, there are different from center point, everything is radiating out. That is why the name given as star. Each network device in star topology can access the media independently. So they are not dependent upon the others. Everyone can start independently, they can communicate independently. There is no shared communication as such. So their one-to-one communication is going on simultaneously along almost all the machines, have become the dominant topology type in contemporary lands. In all existing lands, this is a dominant topology. This most, without any problems, people always will go for star topology unless there are reasons to go for peer or bus topology. Then star have made buses and rings obsolete in the LAN topology. This is the more important. Other two topologies are almost become obsolete because of the advances in the star topology. Compared to bus topology, it gives far better performance. It is easy to connect new nodes or even add these particular nodes or devices. That means extension is possible. You can enhance your network, or in future you can expand your network. Then centralized management, it helps in monitoring the network. Failure of one or node or link doesn't affect the rest of the network. That means here, if there is one node failure, there is will not be any problem for others. That only will not be able to work, but others will go on continuing. Their communication or networking will be go on without any interruptions. Then what is the disadvantage? Only disadvantage is that if a central device fails, that means switch is not working, entire network will come down. That is the basic disadvantage of this. It uses the hub, router, or switch as a central device, increase the overall cost of the network. Of course, this is somewhat a costly devices, but again, due to development in the electronics, as you know, in the electronics market, every cost of the devices is going on reducing after day by day. No electronic devices become more costly. That if I purchase today and if I go for after 1 year or 2 year, definitely the cost will go down. At least it will not, definitely it will not be remain same over a period. This is the develop due to development in the electronics and mass production, some major advancement in this field. You will find day every time the costing of electronic devices is reading, which you are experiencing day by day. Performance as well as number of nodes which can be added in such a topology dependent on the capacity of central device. It can increase the central device, not a problem. If you have a 8-port switch, you can go to 16 port, 24 port, 48 ports. Or if you have got two switches, you can connect one switch to another switch and you can increase this communication between. So number of computers can be connected. Any number of computers can be connected in a star topology. That is not the limitations as such for the star topology. Then the next, that is a fourth topology, is the mesh topology. As you say, this is a mesh. That means every computer is connected with the separate cable directly with the other computers. So if you have Git, that means if you consider this is my one computer, that is a centralized computer, then it is going with one wire. This is connecting to the third wire. Second, this is third, then this is fourth, and this is fifth. So this is a pure mesh technology. Here, of course, here wiring is very much increased. So every computer has got its own dedicated path or dedicated wire. So if something goes wrong with this particular wire, it is possible that it can go to the. So this is the way how your network works or internet works. Internet works on what we call as a like a mesh topology. If something direct line between these two this is failed, then it will come here, and from this here it can be connected to this. So it will go on finding out the shortest distance as well as what is the possibility of this, and accordingly your data or protocols or your data automatically takes care of that is the routing of data, routing of protocols that is in internet. And it will you'll come to have some idea when once you study what is IP protocol or TCP, transmission control protocol, and internet protocol. If you understand TCP IP protocol that we are going to study maybe after 3 lectures, so here then you will understand how exactly data communicates. But here in mesh topology, you simply have to remember that there are multiple ways to connect. Every computer in the network is connected with each other with a separate wire. So this is the mesh topology. So obviously because this offers a very superior redundancy and it is highly reliable. In mesh topology, each computer is connected to every other computer by separate cabling. Configuration provides the redundant part. That means many paths are available. If one thing goes wrong, it can take over for the other. While ease of troubleshooting, increased reliability are definitely the pluses. The networks are expensive to install because they use a lot of cabling. Often mesh topology will be used in conjunction with the other topology to form what is called as an hybrid topology. So this another word can be used, hybrid topology. If one or two topologies are mixed together, then that will be called as hybrid topology. So what is this? Is one another topology that is hierarchical rings. So here there are two. This is fiber optical fiber drive distributed network. So here FDDI network is there. It can be connected to token ring. So this is token ring. That means this is a ring type network. Then here this is in hierarchy. That means it a higher network, and then of course this is a ring network. This is also a ring network, but this is catering for a different. It is token ring. This is FDDI network. That is fiber optic. Fiber optics are used for interface of this particular network. So these are the hierarchical ring network. Similarly, you can have another type of network where you find there is a hub, that means hierarchical star network. That means one this is a higher network. Then this is the one independent star network. This is another star network, and these two star networks are connected through this higher level networking. Hence, it is called as a hierarchical networking. That is high level, middle level, and maybe low level networks. Then this is a hierarchical combination network. See, this you may say this is something like a bus type network. Then you may say this is type and star type network. This is another star network. This is third star networks, and all these are connected to each other with what is called as a coaxial cable RG58 net cable. And this cable is actually forming what is called as a this is a ring type. This is a bus type network. Over this bus type network, these star type networks are connected. That is why it is called as a hierarchical combination network. Effectively, you may say it is a hybrid network. So this is all about topologies. I have already explained you. You can go through this. What are the advantage, disadvantage of these four topologies? Then we'll come to the another topic, that is WAN topology. Again, if you understood basically what is a LAN topology, it is just the extension of LAN topology. The concepts are going to be the same. Again, topologies used in the WAN are also going to be the same. Only here there will be a problem of the cost, performance, scalability, as well as the distance increases. So we have to take care that how the computers can be connected to each other. Then in that case, the questions will come how you can transmit the data over a longer distance. So you'll have to use either cables, or you'll have to use the wireless transmissions, or you'll have to use both the combinations of two or there okay other types of transmission these are used in WAN topology. So what are the WAN topology? One very uh, possible options in the WAN topologies are lease line option. As we say, this is a lease line. That means this is dedicated line or private line between the two computers. So if you can afford it, there will be a lease line will be directly placed between the two computer locations, which are sufficiently maybe about 100 to 100 kilometers distance. But there will be one specific lease line, maybe through telephone networks or some optical fiber networks or some specialized dedicated networks. That lease line can be installed between these and communication will go. That is one part of network WAN technology. Then probably lower cost option could be integrated switch digital network, ISDN network, in connection with the telephone lines already installed on this. So you can use a circuit switch network when we are going to use a BSNL line for internet. At that time, we are actually using the circuit switch network. For that matter, whether you use a Geo or a BSNL or a Vodafone or a what we are called VI, everything is coming under this particular. They also use to reduce the cost and to use this common channel. We go for circuit switch network. Then another network, that is synchronous serial network, that is based on the frame relay network. Mostly it is a microwave communication or wireless networks where the data is transmitted. So this is forms of frame relay. That means data is transmitted in a frame by frame. That frame and etc. all frame segment etc. that we study in the model or OSI model and TCP/IP model. Then another access that you are aware about, this is a broadband access where you can have a service provider, and that service provider will give the data through either cable or dish lines, dish lines, or through wireless or through WAN configuration. And it is possible that through this service provider, it is possible to connect the two peoples from one place to another under the concept that is called as a wide area network or WAN technology. Again, I'm going to repeat the same things. When you say peer to peer, you can have peer to peer within one room across one table, or you can have a peer to peer connection between the two cities. Here again, all computers are at the same level, but they are physically connected through certain wires between the two stations. So it will has going to have, it cost will be less, but here you can have just the connectivity and sharing of the resources, but there cannot be better administration on this. So here it has got the same advantages, disadvantage, what is applicable to LAN. So this is again a ring topology. You can have a 4 locations which will be connected into the ring. Just now what is becoming here, the distance is becoming larger between these. Otherwise, whatever we have studied ring topology in LAN environment, this is also applicable to in a WAN environment where now distance is increasing between the 4 locations. So this is again, it has got the same implications here, but of course you can use go for a point-to-point communication, or you can use some dynamic routing protocols. The way that data can be sent and received, there will be certain, I will not say challenges, but there will be different devices you have to use, and you have to take care the data is uh, amplified, repeated, again transmitted, again converted, again transmitted. So you have to see what is the best possible options to connect the two computers which are remotely from one terminal, one place to another place. But if these are connected in ring, then it will form what is called as a ring topology, and again it will have the same advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so here you have to decide which type of connections you have, and then best possible, that is internet work on this particular concept, that is star topology. We can have one very high end server at the one end, and to this all these following machines will be connected to this. There will be a communication between this to this to this. Even if you want to have connection between D to B, it has to go to through A only. So this is the way that is a connect data transmission takes place, and that is we call this as a star topology. Even in WAN configuration, you can implement the star topology. And here frame relay and point-to-point private lines can be put, or it can go through the centralized server. Then it is more scalable than peer-to-peer, and that means you can increase this network. It is an improved network performance. And when we say hop count of 3, hop count means you already studied the microwaves, so you know what is hop. That means one jump, again repeated to another jump, again third jump. So if you are taking this type of signals, if you are now mostly you have to reduce the hop count as small as possible. So here this is the hop count is made 3. That means if you are connecting the two locations, you should not require to convert this data and more than 3 times from one place to another. That means you should not have more than 2 repeaters or 2 amplifiers between these two. Of course, it creates a single point of failure disadvantage, and here there is a no root redundancy. Means there is you have to this root redundancy is possible only in case of this full mesh technology. See now in this full mesh again, all locations are connected to each others. That means there is a if one location falls down, another tech will take care over. Again, this is a very costly things, but this is normally employed in case of what we call as a switch telephone network, or even if you call the Geo or VI or network. This type of they actually implement such type of topology so that if something goes wrong at one location, the traffic can be entirely diverted from the another location. So this full mesh topology, of course, it has got, as we said, it has got very high reliability and very high level of tolerances. That is redundancy level is very. So it has got certain advantages and disadvantages. But mostly, full mesh is very expensive to build. But there is a financially there is a certain limit on the scalability of the network. So here then you can also have, instead of full mesh, you can also have a partial mesh. That means important location can be connected with the alternative paths, and the least important connection can be connected with a single path. That is partial mesh. Then it has got some advantages, disadvantages. Then you can also have a two-tiered topology. Two-tiered means there will be two tiers. That is just like one user location A and B at a higher level or higher tier, then just this is like compartment what we see in the railway plan. First tier, two tier, three tier. Okay, so you already know what is three tier and two tier or one tier. Okay, so accordingly there can be certain different levels, and that is why the name is given as two tier topology. So here these are the user set at these particular locations, and these are serviced from one better computer or maybe better network which is lying above them. So this is a two-tier topology. Similarly, you can have a three-tier topology where you can have one stronger network which we call as a backbone tier, which will give only the fast services, mostly connected with entirely optical fibers for a very high fast transmission. Then you can have a concentrated tier where there will be some city type of networks will be there, where some users will be there as well as some uh, networks will also be there, middle level networks. And at the lower level, there can be only users which will be connecting or using this type of network. So this will be called as a three-tiered network. So there are certain advantages and disadvantages of this. Then similarly, you can have hybrid topologies. Hybrid means again all the networks, there will be three-tier network, but at the same time there will be no systematic arrangement. There will not cannot be star, then it cannot be a ring or mesh. Everything, anything is connected by anyway, depending upon their traffic requirements and maybe importance. Accordingly, this can be made connected by different ways of connections. Maybe some will be connected with wireless, some with the wire, some with the telephone line, some with the ISDN line, some with the frame relays. So various ways are there for connecting this particular network to each other. So entirely it will be called as an hybrid topology. So this is all about today's lectures that I have decided to take from tomorrow onwards. Tomorrow I'll take networking cables and their standards, their comparison, then how to connect the cables, then how to trim the cables, what is the straight cable, cross cable, and then different standards of the cables and their comparison. That I'll take tomorrow. I mean the next lecture on Monday. I'll continuously go on taking the lectures unless and until I have some specific work. I will tell you if I got any some work. As usual, I'll tell you in advance that if I am able to take. Hopefully there is no problems now so far. So this is all about today's lecture, and I'm very sorry to say that there are hardly 23 students in the class. So it is better that I will take the lecture now here. So here I'll just stop the recording, and I have now I'll take the your online attendance.